soft, airy golden donuts with that perfect white ring around the edge. You know the one. Hi friends, welcome back. I'm so glad you're joining me today. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything from mixing the dough, proofing it at the perfect time, and of course, frying them to that dreamy golden brown. I'll share the little tricks that make a big difference. The kind of tips that'll have your friends asking, "Wait, you made these at home?" So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're not just going to know how to make donuts, you're going to master them. Let's get started. Let's start by waking up the yeast. It's the first step in building flavor and texture. In a small bowl, add 30 milliliters of lukewarm milk, something gently warm like a baby's bath. Not hot, just warm enough to feel cozy on your wrist. Now add in 10 grams of sugar. This gives the yeast a little something to feed on. Then sprinkle in 4 grams of active dry yeast. Give it a gentle stir, and that's it. Cover it and set it aside for 10 to 12 minutes and let the yeast do its thing. You'll start to see bubbles forming on top, maybe even a light foam. That's the magic starting. If it stays flat, don't stress. It happens. Just start fresh with a new batch. And if you're using instant dry yeast instead, you can skip this step. Just mix it straight into the flour or mix with liquid. You don't need to active. Easy. While our yeast rests, let's get the dry ingredients ready. In a large mixing bowl, combine 275 grams of bread flour. You know sifting. Think of it as giving your flour a little fresh air before it joins the party. Then add 30 grams of sugar and just half a teaspoon of salt, around 3 grams. Now mix everything together. If you want extra flavor and richness, you can add just 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk powder. It's not essential, but it gives the dough a deeper, almost creamy note. Alright, here comes a little secret that changes everything. I'm using ice cold milk and egg. Sounds a bit unusual, but trust me, it works like a charm. Ice keeps the dough cool during kneading, which is super important, especially in warm kitchens or summertime. When the dough gets too warm, the yeast can overactivate, making the dough sticky and harder to handle. You know, it slows everything down just enough, giving the dough time to build strength and flavor without getting too soft or sticky. This little combo really makes a difference. Now let's take a quick look at our yeast. Look at this. Light foam on top, soft bubbles. This is exactly what we want. Fully activated and alive. It smells slightly sweet, just a bit tangy. A perfect sign that it's ready to go to work. Now we bring it all together. Add your sifted dry ingredients into a large mixing bowl, then add foamy yeast mixture. Now here's the key part. Slowly start adding your ice milk and egg mixture. Not all at once, just a little at a time. Give the flour a chance to absorb it. As you mix, the dough will begin to form. It'll look shaggy at first, maybe a little messy. That's completely normal. Be patient. Once you add all liquid, increase the speed and knead for 4 to 5 minutes. Then we add the butter. 30 grams of softened butter added in stages, and yeah, it'll look slippery and sticky at first. But keep kneading. Let the dough drink in that buttery richness. It'll transform right in your hands. You know, if you don't want to use ice in your recipe, no problem. Just skip it and add the same amount of cold milk instead. Simple, flexible, and still delicious. But in summertime, this is one of those techniques that quietly take your dough to the next level. After about 10 to 12 minutes of kneading, you'll feel the change. The dough becomes soft, elastic, and beautifully smooth. To check if it's ready, try the window pane test. Take a small piece of dough, stretch it gently between your fingers. If it forms a thin, see-through sheet without tearing, that's your green light. If it tears, don't worry. Just knead for another minute or two and test again. That's the texture we're aiming for. You've done the hard part. Next, we shape our donuts. All right, our dough is ready. Now, It's time to shape it into donuts. Start by dividing the dough into equal pieces. I go for around 40 grams each. Using a kitchen scale might feel a little extra, but it makes a big difference. Evenly sized donuts cook evenly and look so much better too. Now take each piece and roll it into a ball. Tuck the edges in and gently roll it against the table, cupping your hand. You're not just shaping, it's like wrapping the dough in a little hug. Aim for smooth, tight balls. If the dough has cracks, the donuts can rise unevenly later on. Once all the balls are ready, cover them with a cloth and let them rest for 15 minutes. This little break relaxes the gluten, so the next step becomes easier. Now, if shaping balls feels tricky, no worries. You can also roll out the dough and use a donut cutter. I've shared a video on channel that methods too. Feel free to check it out. After resting, gently press each ball down to flatten slightly. Just a light press. Then, with your finger, make a hole in the center and slowly stretch it out. Don't panic if the hole looks big. It'll shrink as the dough proofs. And remember, these don't have to look perfect. They're handmade, and that's part of the beauty. If the dough feels a little sticky, dust your hands with flour, but go easy. Too much flour can dry the dough out. Once all the donuts are shaped, it's time for proofing. And this is everything. This step gives the donuts that bakery-style rise and that iconic white ring. Think of it like a nap for the dough. During this time, the donuts puff up and become light as air. If your kitchen is chilly, place the tray in the oven with just the light on. In warm weather, dough proofs faster. If it overproofs, it'll collapse when you fry or soak up oil and turn greasy. In summer, 30 to 45 minutes is usually enough. But in winter, proofing can take up to 2 hours. Just keep an eye on the dough, not the clock. So how do you know it's ready? Lightly press one donut with your finger. If it slowly springs back and leaves a soft dent, it's perfect. If it doesn't bounce back at all, it's gone too far. Look at these. They've risen beautifully, soft, airy, and full of promise. And now comes the best part. The moment we've been waiting for. Time to turn these soft, proofed dough into golden, fluffy donuts. Start by heating your oil to 160 degrees Celsius or 320 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the sweet spot. Low and steady gives you that soft texture and that beautiful white ring. If you have a thermometer, keep it in the pot. It really helps. But if not, no problem. Just drop in a tiny piece of dough. If it sizzles gently and floats to the top, your oil is ready. Now, carefully place the donuts in. Watch what happens. They start to puff up slowly. It's such a satisfying moment. Fry each side for about 2 to 3 minutes, or until they turn golden brown. And remember, never fry on high heat. Too hot, and the outside will burn before the inside is cooked. When your oil temperature and proofing are just right, that ring shows up like magic. It means your donuts floated perfectly, cooking evenly on both sides. Look at this. And that perfect white ring shining around the middle. This is what bakery-style donuts look like. Before we finish, I want to leave you with 5 quick tips to help you get it right every single time. First, make sure your yeast is active, foamy and bubbly before you start. It sets the tone for the entire dough. Second, pour your liquid in slowly, bit by bit. It gives you full control over the dough texture. Third, knead with care. Stop only when the dough is soft, smooth, and elastic. Fourth, watch your proofing. Don't go by time, go by feel, and avoid overproofing, especially in warm weather. Fifth, fry with precision. Stay at the right oil temperature and let the donuts float. That's how you get the perfect color and that beautiful white ring. If you enjoyed this recipe, give it a like, share it with someone who loves donuts, and don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more deliciousness coming your way. Thanks for watching, and happy frying.